Okay, we're going to get ready to start here. We have a couple minutes yet, so we're going to have some fun. First of all you folks sitting here are part of the program. Did you know that? I use the audience to get points of the Coyote's life across. So if I call on you, thank you very much for volunteering. I think that's great of you. Usually the front row volunteers. It's too late, you're already seated. By a show of hands, how many people have seen a coyote or heard one? Keep your hands up and look around. If more than a third of the audience has their hand up, you have a coyote problem. Keep your hands up. I'll give you a Geritol if you need it. Of the hands that are up, who's harvested a coyote? Well, that eliminated a few. Of the hands that are up, who called them in? Good, and we have a whole bunch to learn today, don't we? Let me give a little wake-up call, and then we'll start.
Mike, you have
Yes, ma'am. That's really what they sound like. I think I just woke somebody up back there. Hello, my name's Tom Bechdel. I'm from here in Meadville. I'm a professional hunter. I go around teaching people how to harvest a coyote by calling. I take people to South Carolina on hunts. I have books and DVDs on the subject. But as we just went over here, coyotes are a main problem in Pennsylvania. And I'm going to teach you how to call these animals in and have fun doing it. Now, who doesn't believe that you can call them in? There's always somebody that doesn't believe me. We're going to pick on the young man over here. If I prove to you that calling is easy, would you tell me you believe me then? Can I borrow you, young lady? Come here. See that knob right there? Will you turn that on for me? The other way. The other way. Was that hard? Did you break a nail? Did you break out in a sweat? Just a minute. Was that calling? Young man, did I say calling was the easy part? Yeah. Thank you. Have a seat. That's the easy part, is the calling. Seeing the coyote's the hard part. Now, does that make more sense? I'm going to prove to you we can do this. The coyote. There are 19 subspecies of coyotes in the United States. The eastern coyote is by far the largest. For you to understand the eastern coyote, I got to explain a little bit about the western coyote. This is a western coyote that's been on a slim fast diet way too long. By seeing this piece of fur, you've seen every coyote out west. Maybe a shade lighter or a shade darker, but basically this is the western coyote. The female out west will weigh anywhere from 15 to 25 pounds. The male anywhere from 25 to 35 pounds. You kill a 40-pound coyote out west, you're going to be in every news media. Why? Because they don't get that big. With 7 to 21 dogs per square mile, food and water at a premium, there's competition all the time for food. Western coyote is the smallest of the 19 subspecies. Now that's all we're going to talk about him. Sit. He's never learned to do that. Whereas the eastern coyote is considerably larger. Looks a little bit bigger than the other fur I just showed you. The female here in the east will weigh anywhere from 35 to 45 to 50 pounds. That's a good sized dog, is it not? The male will weigh anywhere from 40 to 60 pounds. That's a good sized dog, is it not? The largest coyote I ever harvested with a firearm weighed 73 pounds. That's a big dog, is it not? The largest coyote I ever harvested, the good Lord gave me a different method of getting it. He allowed me to use my car. It turned out now to be the largest coyote ever recorded in the United States. Through blood testing, DNA testing, came back strictly coyote, no other species found. He weighed 82 pounds. That's a big dog by anybody's standards. Am I right? Notice the coloration of this. This didn't look like the Western Coyote by any standards, does it? There are 7 distinct colorations of the Eastern Coyote. White, black, brown, Irish setter red, red like a red fox, yellow, pale red like strawberry blonde, and then shades of colorations off of that. The most distinct color is what we call the German Shepherd. But those are the difference between the Eastern and Western Coyote. Now, most of you can't distinguish a coyote from a domestic dog or a wolf. So I'm going to help you. Wolves, most domestic dogs, and foxes have the same characteristic. From the top of the back to the bottom of the brisket is the same length as the legs underneath. Where a coyote, the leg is 2 times longer than what the body is in depth. Teenager, all legs, no body yet. Does that make sense to you? So regardless of the coloration of what you're looking at, if it has the elongated snout, the pointed ears, the long bushy tail, you're probably looking at a coyote. Some of the coyotes that I've harvested over the years absolutely amaze me, and it stunned me to stop and look at them before I harvest them to prove that they were coyotes. So remember what I said about the characteristics. From the base of the feet to the top of the back on an Eastern Coyote is normally 30 to 36 inches. From the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail, normally 46 to 56 inches. That 82-pound coyote made a slight difference. From tip of nose to tip of tail was 6 foot 1 inch. That's a little bit different, isn't it? From the base of his feet to the top of his back was 43 inches. So, just like everybody in here, there are people of different heights and sizes. So keep that in mind when you're out there. A lot of people hunt these things by running them with dogs. Any of you folks do that? They're fun. But then you got to clean up the mess after your dogs, and you got to feed them. They're like kids. They just never stop eating. I found a quicker method of doing it, and that's through calling. Electronic calls, which most people use, are efficient. It's instant hunting. You turn it on, and you're hunting. It's that simple. Am I right? And that's for the people who don't have the courage or the fortitude to say, I can do something. That's cheating. But I worked for Johnny Stewart Game Calls for 8.5 years, and what I learned is over the years, this coyote got very call shy. And by that I mean, how can I say it? Young man, you're married, are you not?
Oh, yeah.
My condolences. Anyhow,
Thank you.
anyhow, if this young lady says, I want to go to dinner now, I want to go to dinner now, I want to go to dinner now. You can't hit her. That's against the law, is it right? But that's annoying.
Turn off my hearing aid.
Good going. That's annoying. Electronic callers have the same problem. They have an 8 to 16 second sound chamber, and then it repeats itself, and then it repeats itself. Where coyotes, foxes, and other animals have been hunted hard using electronic callers, this animal's learned to sit down and listen. If it's boring, he turns around and leaves. So I have learned to use hand calls. Now these 2 calls are inexpensive. There's a total of about $26 right there. With these 2 calls, you can hunt anywhere in Canada, continental United States, Central America, and expect to harvest coyotes. They work very well. So you don't need to put a lot of money into this. You need to put a little bit of time into it. First of all, let's figure out what keeps this boy alive. His ears. The least of his defense, his ears. It is a proven fact, the university and game biologist reports, that coyote can hear a mouse chewing grass at about 60 feet away. That's 20 yards. That mouse stopped chewing grass that coyote will walk over and pick that particular mouse up. For somebody that can't hear a cell phone or an ex-wife, I can't comprehend that kind of hearing.
They have one of those that says, I want to go to dinner.
Isn't that hard to believe? That's the worst of his defenses. His eyesight. How many turkey hunters do I have in here? Okay, I'm going to pick on you. They hard to move on? Need to wear camo? It is a proven fact that this coyote's vision is 15 to 20 times greater than the eastern wild turkey. That's like having an animal with spotting scopes watching every move you make. That's unreal, isn't it? By reaching up and touching my nose, a coyote can see that from 250 to 300 yards and never, ever strain his eyes. I can't even read a phone directory anymore without glasses. That's disgusting. But that's his second best defense. His first defense, his main defense, is right here. It leads him everywhere, his nose. There are only two animals on the North American continent that can smell a drop of blood that more than a mile away. The top is the Alaskan brown bear. He can smell that drop of blood at 11.5 miles away. That's pretty good, isn't it? Now you know why when those guys harvest animals up there, they get out in a hurry. The second animal is the eastern coyote. He can smell that single drop of blood at 7.5 miles away. Now you archers know when you shoot a deer at night and you're trying dragging it out, why all of a sudden you get surrounded by coyotes. They smelled it. They're like sharks. It's a blood frenzy. It's exactly what it is. But that's what keeps them alive, all those senses. Let's go over 12 months of his life, make sure we understand what he's doing. Get rid of some of the mess that everybody's told you. December, January, the cold months. That's when what they say he's eating should be in hibernation. Those are rodents, squirrels, some rabbits, chipmunks, things like that. But unless these animals are growing deer hair, I think there's a problem with that statement, because every scat that I've ever found of a coyote has deer hair in it. So unless these squirrels are wearing deer skin coats, I think the coyote's eating our deer herd. I may be wrong on that, but I think that's the truth. So these animals pack up. Usually loose family units, usually 3 to 5 dogs. The more severe the weather, the colder it is, the more coyotes can be there. The largest pack of coyotes I ever witnessed and got a chance to hunt had between 27 and 35 dogs in it. The good Lord allowed me to take 6 out of that. That's the largest pack I've ever witnessed so far. So it can happen. And when you're out there hunting, understand anything can happen. That's the caution I'm putting in this. Then comes February. That's the mating season. You remember that, sir? I don't want to lose anybody. If I would, I'd get one of the kids to explain it. That's when the coyotes get vocal. That's when most of you actually get a chance to hear the eastern coyote. He gets out in the point of a mountain, up on a rock ledge somewhere, and he sounds off. He just tells everybody, here I am. Any female that likes the tone of his voice and is receptive will come and they'll be together for the rest of the year. That's where you boys need to pay attention. There's things in wildlife you need to learn. There's no candy. There's no flowers. There's no long engagements. If you want to date, get a howler, get in the backyard. If it works for nature, it'll work for you. You guys waste way too much money. But this is how it starts. Female comes in, likes the tone of the voice. What are you laughing about? That's how it started with you? I'm sorry. You should have bought her flowers. Anyhow. So now things have changed. The female's now in that motherly way. She said, you did it, you caused it, you take care of me. So now he becomes a primary hunter. That's it. That's his job. He's a primary food bearer. He's bringing food back. Remember, if I pick on you, you're part of my audience. How much do you weigh, young man?
230 pounds.
Could you eat 230 pounds of food this week?
No.
Don't you even say yes. How much do you weigh?
A little more than that.
He resembles that. Anyhow, could you eat that body weight?
I've tried.
Do you know why I say that to these two young men? Because if they were coyotes, they'd have to eat their own body weight once every week just to maintain that weight. That's how high their metabolism is. So here's this male coyote trying to feed a female and himself. For me to put that in perspective so you can really understand it, let's say this coyote weighs 40 pounds. He's going to eat 40 pounds of food this week. A fawn, a raccoon, a cat, you know, the other white meat. He's going to eat 40 pounds of food this week. There are 52 weeks to a year. That's 2,080 pounds of food this one coyote has eaten. Them living 6 to 12 years in the wild, taking a minimum of 6, that's 2,480 pounds of wildlife one coyote has eaten.
That's a lot of deer.
Now, the problem is, now he's hunting for 2 coyotes. Now he has to be more productive. Now he's eating 2 cats a week instead of 1. But he's out continuously. He runs all night. He comes up, he drops this rabbit at her feet and goes, "Here you are, dear, I brought you lunch." She goes, "I'd rather have a squirrel." Off he goes again. From mid-February through August, the male coyote very seldom gets a chance to lay down and rest. Why? He's feeding the family. To make matters worse, at the end of March, beginning of April, 6 to 10 pups are born. That's an average litter. Largest litter ever recovered in the wild had 17 pups in it. I bet that boy's reading a book on bachelorhood. That had to be a lot of work. So now he got to produce more because now she got to produce milk to feed her offspring. Am I right? To make matters worse on top of that, the end of May, beginning of June, the pups are weaned. That's when they go to a solid diet. Now he's killing his own weight, her weight, and the weight of each one of those pups. And every day they're putting weight on. Now you understand why I'm saying he's a killing machine during the summer? That's his job, period, end. Then comes August. That's when some of you groundhog hunters get a chance to harvest a coyote. You're out sitting over a field. The young coyote comes out into a freshly mowed field. He's jumping up and down the grass, trying to get mice and mole to move. What is he doing? He's honing his skills. He's learning how to hunt so he can survive, period, end. Then comes September. That's when us, the human element, is a very major part in a coyote's life. We're out doing our scouting for deer, turkey, bear, whatever, and we help break up this family unit. We help disperse it. In nature, from September 1st to mid-October, the family disperses. If you're the female in that litter, your new home may be anywhere from 5 to 20 miles from where you're originally born. It's a fair walk. Whereas the male in that litter may walk anywhere from 10 to 100 miles to relocate and call that his domain. That's why all of a sudden there's coyotes in your neighborhood that were never there before. It's just natural expansion of the range. Then comes November. That's when most of us actually get a chance to harvest a coyote. We're out hunting another animal, and the coyote makes a mistake and shows up at the wrong place at the right time, and we get to take one home. Am I right? We got him by accident. He showed up. Then we're back to the cold months. So there's no secrets about this coyote's life. He eats, he sleeps, he has sex once a year like any other married man, back to eating and sleeping. It is basic. Ma'am, that's the truth. That wasn't that funny. Man could cry over that. But that's the truth. There's no secrets about this guy's life. How do we get this creature to come to find us? He's always hungry. See all these young people in here? I bet if you asked each one of them, they're going to say, "I'm hungry right now." Am I right? Coyotes' metabolism, the only way I can describe it is Thanksgiving time. All the families get together, we all eat the big meal, the adults go in the front room, sit down in a chair, go to sleep. 10 minutes later, these guys are in the refrigerator. Mom, is there something to snack on? That kind of hungry, folks. So all we got to do is make the sound of a food source. Ma'am, what's a food source for a coyote? Rabbit, fawn, cat. Remember I mentioned that once. Squirrels, all that stuff. Let me make it so easy that it hurts. Anything that sounds like it is in distress. Period, end. It doesn't have to sound like any animal you've ever heard before. One of my sponsors went to Africa. He spent a week over there archery hunting. At night, he recorded the sounds that he heard over there. He brought it back, gave me a copy of it. I've killed 9 coyotes off that. That's not even from this continent. It does not have to be anything that is local. You don't have to sound like a fawn. You don't have to sound like a squirrel. You got to sound like it's in distress. Like I said, electronics is easy. You turn it on, you're hunting. The problem with that, if you're in an area where everybody else is hunted, then you run into problems where they're call shy. Hand calls goes around that. You cannot run the same decibels. You cannot run the same cadence. It's more natural. All you got to do is sound like you are in distress. How many of you have a fawn bleat call? A fawn call. How many of you have one? Do you have one, sir? Nope. I bet you're going to get one after this. A deer call works very well. Why? Because it's a food source. Coyotes have heard that sound before. But there's many ways of using this. The first call you want to make is that of a fawn. That's a contact call. It's not loud. It has nothing to do with dominance, territory, or sexual. It's just a contact call. When a fawn gets away from his mom for 5 or 10 minutes, by sight, sound, smell, can't find her, now there's some urgency to it. It's still a relatively soft call, but it sounds like a human baby crying. And if you've been an archer, you've heard that sound. But if that same fawn has this coyote hanging off its tail, or it's caught in a barbed wire fence, now there's all kind of urgency coming out of that young deer's throat. To a doe, it brings out the maternal instinct to run in and save the fawn. To a coyote, it's a free, easy meal. So you have not only a deer call, you have a predator call. But they're not the only sounds you can make off of this. Make your calls work for you. Do you ever hear raccoons chatter? How many of you have had a red squirrel sit in a tree and do this? I don't know if I can do it. I have a bad tooth in my mouth right now. Couldn't get in to see the dentist, so I have some swelling. I don't know how much pressure I can put on here. But if you can do a tomcat, you'll get every coyote in the neighborhood to come visit you. That's like ringing the dinner bell, folks. But dude, that call is very efficient. It's my #1 call. Of 1,218 coyotes that I have harvested in this state, 95% of them have come off that call. That's pretty good, is it not? But there's a key if this is a call to work with. If owls, hawks, and crows are not coming to you, you are not making the best sound. So that's when I go to a raspy call. It sounds louder to our ears, but in reality doesn't reach out as far. Don't take my calls at the end of the game either. So anyhow, that's how we do it. That's how we get past his ears. His stomach's always hungry. Convince his ears there's a food source there. He's going to come get it. Now, your son says you're a turkey hunter. Use a decoy? Have you ever killed a turkey that didn't have tire marks on it? Or a Topps tag that said weight per pound? Have to ask these questions, folks. A decoy will work for you. Who uses a decoy? Ah! Get back here. Your decoy looks something like that. You know why you use a decoy, young man? What? Why do you use a decoy?
Huh?
Why do you use a decoy turkey hunting?
Calm the turkey down.
Calm them down, get their eyes off of you. You know why that young man has a turkey decoy? At the end of the day, he can say, yep, I got me one. And besides, if you throw it in the microwave, you can have turkey melt. Anyhow, this is a great decoy, and it works very well for coyotes. The problem is, if it's not turkey season, and you have a call capable of making a turkey sound, one of those guys with that funny shoulder patch is going to talk to you in a very negative way. This is a great decoy, but I tell people not to use it. By the way, I said can be a dangerous decoy. That coyote that I showed you, the eastern coyote, weighed 38 pounds. Took 3 shots for me to save my decoy. He came in and took it. Anytime you are hunting and you are making sounds of a game animal, whether it's waterfowl, deer, turkeys, whatever, you're being stalked by that animal. It will end when he either smells you, sees you, or your gun goes off. You understand that last one? Understand, he's always hungry. So I tell people to get a different decoy. A friend of mine over in Ohio come up with this little gem. And I like this. This is where I got my nickname, Rabbit on a Stick. You turn this on, it does this great little dance for you. And I can tell you, coyotes come into it. But it also is a bad thing because birds of prey come into it.
Yeah, tons of bears.
And they hit it very hard. Now, the one time I'm going to tell you, I was hunting with Bill Lennox outside of Cambridge Springs, Pennsylvania on a very, very cold morning. We had this set about 20 yards out in front of us in the snow. It was something like 18 degrees below zero. Bill elbows me and is pointing upward. I knew I hadn't thought anything at that point. The good Lord should be sending a lightning bolt after me. So I looked up in time to see a red-tailed hawk in a power dive. And I can tell you at that cold temperature, when a red-tailed hawk's talons hit that hard plastic ball, there's sounds that were made that I cannot duplicate. I cannot even describe the sound of it. But I can tell you that bird laid on the snow and looked like a drunk trying to get up. His little wings were flipping, his feet were running, and he wasn't getting anywhere. It took him about 25 minutes to right himself, get back up in the air. But these are a great toy, but if a bird of prey comes in, it's ruined your setup. So I tell people not to do it. This has become my #1 decoy, except for the price of it. It took me 8.5 weeks to convince my ex-wife that would make a great centerpiece at Christmas time. So she finally bought it for me. It took me 2 weeks to convince her of her wild heritage that this needs to take a walk in the woods. And when a coyote did this to it, she wouldn't buy me another one. That started the arguments. At $50 a piece, I'm a tightwad. I don't spend that kind of money. This is a great decoy. If I worked for this company, I'd have one that wasn't ripped apart. But this is a great decoy. It works in February the same as it will work in the middle of the summer. Why? Because animals react to what they see and hear. They do not reason out, this is a deer in the middle of February, shouldn't be there. They can't do that. If you're using an electronic caller with a bird sound on and you had this fawn out there, they can't reason that sound and that decoy don't go together. All they know is they react to what they hear. They come in and they see a decoy that they recognize. That's a very good decoy. But being a tightwad, I don't spend money. So I had to come up with a decoy that would work exceptionally well and did not cost me a lot of money. Are you laughing at my decoy, ma'am? You are too, laughing at my decoy.
Not at all.
This is a great decoy, folks. It works very well. It didn't at first. It had an orange carrot right there. See that? That scared the daylights out of everything. But this is a great decoy, and it works very well. The problems with decoys is just this. Can you see that decoy, ma'am? That's the problem. Every sportsman I know puts their turkey decoy or their predator decoy where they can see it, not the animal or bird that they're hunting needs to see it. If you walked into a clear-cut field like that grass field out there, and I'm hunting, you're going to take your hat off, scratch your head, because you're going to find that rabbit sitting about that high. When's the last time you seen a rabbit that high? You've never been that drunk, have you? There's a reason I put it that high. Every piece of ground has a natural roll or grass to it. Therefore, by putting it up, this animal can see it a lot quicker. He hears what he thinks is food. If he sees the food, he has a tendency to run straight at it. And I can tell you that when they jump at it and you shoot them, they slide sideways. That's better than trap. But that's a great decoy, and it works very, very well. Isn't that cool? You'd have never thought of that, would you? Think of it this way. You put that hen decoy up there, about that high, you're going to stop every one of those toms from hanging up. He's going to walk out there, he's going to see that decoy and go, ooh-wee, wow, look at the legs on that chick. She got to be from L.A. You're laughing at me again. I'm being very serious in this seminar. You are laughing at me. So far it's been easy, am I right? Because we get over the two easiest defenses. His nose can smell a drop of blood 7.5 miles away. Young lady, I'm going to pick on you. Oh, let me see. Young man, stand up. No, don't look at your son. Turn around. Stand up. Stand up, ma'am. Take a look at her. Neat, clean, attractive, takes care of herself. You agree with that?
Sure.
Sir, he's looking at your wife. Oh, no, that's not where I was going. Have a seat. Let me get back here. Let me get back. That came out wrong. You agree with that? You take care of yourself?
I do.
You know what a skunk smells like, ma'am?
Oh, absolutely.
Kind of hard in the eyes, makes the nose run, the eyes water. Just in general, you agree? Yes. To all animals that live by their nose, including your pets, you're the top predator. You put fear in their life. You know what your problem is?
No.
You stink.
That's true.
Oh, it's true. So do I, though. Thank you. Stop back in my booth. I have a present for you. But we all have that problem. As long as we are alive, we are putting out human scent. Human scent is the top predator out there. Period. End. All animals fear us. So we need to get around that. How many archers do I have in here? I'm not going to pick on you. Use cover scents? Yeah. Who use cover scents? What do you use? Spray on. Cover scent. Nature's essence. What they did is they dug up 4 inches of the forest floor, distilled it, put it through the tubes, and when it came out the other side, it's an alcohol-based forest floor. When the alcohol burns off, you smell like the forest. Period. End. Do you know why this works so well? Do you know why the cover scents work so well? It's natural lanolin derived from plants. Lanolin restricts the growth of bacteria, which we call human scent. Therefore, what's coming off of you is so faint, the animals can't determine how close or far away you really are. Therefore, they go about their natural business. Isn't that cool? That wasn't hard, was it? Okay, I only have a couple minutes here. Best way to hunt. Would you stand up? Would you stand up, young man? You face that way, you face this way. This is the way most people try to hunt coyotes. The buddy system. Him and him, they might be 40 to 100 yards apart or more. This gentleman's doing the calling, this gentleman's doing the shooting. The problem with that is, if you see a coyote behind him and 100 yards on the other side of him, how are you going to tell him there's a coyote out there? I guarantee you, if you shoot behind him, we're going to find white bones there next spring. At least you're going to find them if you did that to me. That's not a method of telling me he's there. So you can't tell him, right?
No.
You can't hand wave at him, can't holler to him. No communication, you can't do it. The other thing is, there's two pools of human scent going to the downwind side. Now the coyotes have 2 times the chance of picking you up. Both of you come in here. Yeah. You stand right here, turn your back, put your back right against them. No trees, no rocks, nothing between you. This is the way you hunt. You have 360 degrees of coverage. If this gentleman sees a coyote on this side of him, all he got to do is take his elbow, gently nudge a guy behind him. By gently nudging, I don't mean, yo, you don't hurt the guy. You just nudge him. That way this guy can understand that on this side of him and behind him, this partner has seen something, be prepared for a gunshot. Okay? That's the way you do a large area. Have a seat.
There's another problem with it.
Thank you very much. Now my preferred method is, because I hunt by myself a lot, is I like a clearing to the downwind side. In other words, if all these chairs were where I thought the coyotes was, and this is a grass field, I would try to call the coyotes to me. I'd put my decoy behind me, and I would set on the inside of this tree line. Why? Because the coyotes are going to come to a certain point. If they don't see the decoy, they're going to use the inside of those trees as a funnel. They're going to come to where they can see the decoy. By me sitting inside the tree line, I should be able to see them. That's the preferred method of one person. Now, for your information, I have DVDs and books strictly on the eastern coyote at my table right back there by the cameraman. And I have a log book to put all your notes in. Now, I want to thank you for attending. If you have any questions, please come back. If you have any photos you'd like to share with me, please come back. But I will leave you with one last note that I honestly mean. If you like good sports, be one. And if you see this on TV, please look my website up that they're going to show on the screen and give me a call. Thank you very much for attending, and have a good day. Good hunting, folks.